would be your recommendation to the county chair about what should be done? Should there be a criminal investigation pursuing now, or should you just let her sit on paying it up at some point?
I believe you mean what the recommendation be to the county manager?
That's correct,
If
from a
if
councilman's
one.
perspective.
Oh, yeah, well, what we said was, if obviously there was some criminal wrongdoing here, and we need to take the appropriate legal action and to recover whatever monies that we can and bring it back.
Mr. Davis, please.
Well, there needs to be I don't exactly know how she was brought into that position, but working in New Smyrna Beach, I hear all the little rumors and everything that's going on around there, especially with this situation. And, it's very simply, I think maybe we need a better vetting position or way of doing this vetting to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And as far as the criminal actions, I've heard through the grapevines, and Carl and I do get to tug on a few of the same grapevines. We do get information from the county. And from what I understand, it is being pursued on a legal matter. And right now, I think it's up to the courts and maybe a jury of her peers if it goes to that point. So that's where we need to go with that.
Okay,
The legal
fair
system to do its job.
Mr. Persis, last year, you voted, or earlier in the year, when you were on the county council before technicality, where you had to step down in June, you voted for safety measures for beach driving, which called for people rolling down at least a driver's side window, turning on their lights, not texting or even talking on the phone while they're driving, at least on the beach. And of course, you and I were on the beach together with a walkthrough for a story we have coming up. When my wife and I were on the beach yesterday for Labor Day, we noticed more than not, cars were not turning on their lights. And when we approached the toll booth, nobody was given any of the brochures. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it did, and I've actually done this myself. I go down the beach every week or every other week at least, and just get a glance. And I go down different beach ramps to see what kind of information, and it varies. But you mentioned some of the things, but the thing I'm the most proud of that I really championed through, and it took a couple of years to get this through, was the one-way driving. And, rolling down your window and turning on your lights, I'm not really sure what significance that really has. But the one-way driving, everyone has told us now, from the beach vendors, from the lifeguards, from the beach patrol, our tourists. I think there was an article in the paper not too long ago people saying it just produces fewer vehicles on the beach. It gives that measure of safety that when you're crossing from the soft sand to the water, you only have to look for cars coming this way or the other way. It's just something that has proved to have worked. We have gone, knock on this is wood, I guess, and we went through the whole beach season without a fatality. So I was real happy that that particular measure took place.
Mr. Davis, the same to you. The idea of the county council taking in these steps of rolling down your window, turning on your lights, of course the one-way driving, especially in front of Sunsplash Park in Daytona, effective or window dressing?
Well, apparently, no, I think apparently at this time, as Mr. Persis has proved, the proof is in the pudding. And I've always been an advocate, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, apparently it was broke, so somebody had to step up and they fixed it. So now we have one-way driving, which makes it a little easier for everybody with small children. We've all had small children. As soon as you stop there at the beach and open the doors, they're off like a little shot, and they're not looking. So it's a good thing because now, like Carl said, you only get to look this way to see if the car's coming this way, and you can control your children better. So I think that's a great idea. Now this, I saw these signs in. I have been down on the beach just to see how this was affected, and you're right. It's maybe 25–30% of people are actually turning their lights on or rolling their windows down. Most cars now, thank goodness, when you turn a car on, you start, the lights come on, so that's a saving grace. But the windows, and I still see texting, but I also see texting on the main roads here, which also drives me insane because I do ride a motorcycle, and that's a little scary.
Mr. Persis, just to clarify, could you tell us where the one-way driving zones are? I know one of them is Sunsplash Park. I don't want people to think it's the whole beach.
No, it isn't, and we, as with all these kinds of major changes, you want to kind of try it out first. And so we tried it out north of Seabreeze Boulevard, and then the other area is International's Boulevard going south. It's one way south, International Speedway Boulevard, and then one way north from Seabreeze Boulevard. And so that's where we decided to try it, because you have to coordinate that one-way driving with the beach ramps and with the exiting traffic on A1A. So you had to have that smooth flow, so there wasn't any backups. And that's where the Beach Patrol folks said, you know, why don't we try it here first and see how it goes.
Now, the newspaper recently wrote a story quoting Frank Bruno, who's going to be the predecessor of one of you, that he was pleased with the new rules and that nobody had been struck or killed. And just, of course, on Labor Day, a person was hit at Ormond Beach.
Yeah.
Does that tell you that it can happen at any time?
Well, sure, and you know, there were so many people down on the beach, and there's so many cars, and there's so many distractions on the beach. But again, it can happen at any time, and we have to keep, as we didn't mention here earlier, but we are continuing to have some sort of a balance between where beach driving is allowed and where beach driving is not allowed. And you got to keep those things balanced.
And Mr. Davis, if I could do an offshoot of that, last year, 2 children killed, 24 others hit by cars to and from school, teenagers from elementary up to high school.
Yeah.
So far this year, 7 children hit by cars, one of them going to Christian for private school. Is the beach that much less safe because 2 toddlers are struck and killed? Or is the beach more of a, what's the difference as far as you're concerned in terms of safety?
Well, our children are one of the most important resources we have. And we must do everything we can to protect them, to teach them, and to nurture them. Any child hit by any car, it's a tragedy, absolutely. A lot of these incidences where kids have been run over by cars because there was no school crossing guard, or because they weren't paying attention. You know, and I honestly do see it. I think just recently there was a educational program started up. And I think it's down in Seminole County. I just caught a quick blurb, and I may be incorrect of the area. But the program starts out to teach these kids how to appropriately cross the street, how to ride a bicycle down the side of the street, what direction. And we see these things all different in Catawampas here and there. People go, I see a kid riding a bicycle towards me on a busy road coming out of the school. You should be on the other side riding with the flow of traffic. So I think education for the younger children, as far as the little toddlers, we need to definitely make sure people hold their hands. But, it's just the way it is sometimes. People are going to get hurt. It's not on purpose. And believe me, it's not the design of our county government. And it's definitely not the design of anybody, I'm sure, that's driving the car.
Just a couple more questions on beach driving, we'll move on to other things. Mr. Persis, you and I have discussed this, and you get your own information. The Florida Highway Patrol concluded that 2 toddlers killed on the beach died as a result of their own actions. In other words, the drivers were not at fault. How much parental responsibility is there in order for your program to work on the beach in terms of safety?
I think there's a difference between the Highway Patrol's report, which said that the drivers weren't charged, but you can't hold a 4-year-old or under responsible for their actions. Federal law says that. So, that's just a very, very sad situation. Nobody wanted that to happen. Their parents, their grandparents, the driver of the car. So it was just a horrible event. But what it did was it just heightened the awareness of not just members of the Volusia County Council, because we were all already studying the beach and how to make it safer, but also it from all the press that it received. I just think all the tourists that came down the beach and our locals that go down there all the time, everyone became just much more cognizant of beach safety. Because let's face it, when you go down the beach, you have a different attitude. You are just there to have fun, and it's just hard to put those safety goggles on now too, because you're in a free-spirited mode, and so to think that, oh, now I have to be careful too, something that most people just don't think about when they go down that beach approach.
Mr. Davis, you concur, or you have a different take on it?
No, he's absolutely correct, but we still need to make sure that, you can't charge a 4-year-old for a crime like that, he's correct. And we're absolutely heartbroken that these situations happen.
Well, I did ask initially about parental responsibility.
And, but I've always stated, when I was a young adult and I had my own daughter with me and we'd go to the beach, believe me, when that door opened up, we will stand right here until we get everything out. And then we'll go down there. I will walk you down there. I mean, it is parental responsibility to a degree. We've got to be more responsible with our own children, because if we're not responsible with our own children, who's going to be?
So I want to get back to you on the final beach question, and that is, earlier you brought up the issue about the county having a debt load that you felt was pretty high.
Yes.
What efforts would you make to acquire more readily some lands or waterfront property so that you can take the cars off the beach? Or do you think it's not necessary to do that?
The county is responsible for maintaining and having beach access. That is our job. It's in our charter. We have to do this. So we have two options here. We can either go and just close off the beach and make enough parking for the county of Seminole County to come up and park there for a day. It's going to cost millions of dollars to do this. I don't think at this time that our county could absolutely absorb that kind of expenditure to do this, because we have to put bonds, and like I said earlier, we have to build things and insure them and do all this stuff to maintain. I would like to see beach driving kept there. Myself personally, I grew up here in Florida, moved from Seminole County to here, so I know what it's like to drive down 44 and go straight in and ride up and down the beach.
And Mr. Persis, you've had the experience, obviously, of being on the county council for 7.5 years. How difficult has it been to get consensus to maybe take that bold step of bringing cars off the beach? And where do you stand with that?
It's very difficult. I've lived here since '56. I grew up on that beach. At least I felt like I grew up on that beach. When I was the mayor of Ormond Beach back in '99, I remember conversations about the beach and beach driving and the county control of it and who should do what and why. People are on both sides of this issue. And what we've tried to do in the county is, especially these last four years, is continue just to make the beach safer. Continue to provide opportunities for families who just do not feel safe unless they're at a no driving zone, to create enough of those no driving zones so that there are places for them to park and safely take their children to the beach and not have to worry about the vehicles. I think right now we have a pretty good balance. Some people would say it's not quite what they want, but again, it's just trying to strike that balance between access and safety.